Mama's recipes passed from the top plate. Told me don't flip it when the truth ain't straight. Messiah walked it, he left a foot trace. 6 grind, 7th rest, that's a holy embrace. 7th day rhythm, frame it in your heart. World flip the script, tore its day apart. Sunday creeping, but that ain't the spark. Messiah showed the way, his steps left a mark. Hop the scriptures, flipping pages like a flip phone. Prophet's voice echoes, makes it that stone. Sun up, sun down, keep it in the zone. The ancient path paved, not man-made on its own. Tradition breaking, walls shaking, system built on sand. Sabbath holding steady, that's the Father's brand. Don't bend, fold, this a pure command. Every command's legit, this the holy strand. Rome switched the day, now watch the spin zone. Took his ways, branded anyone unknown. Original still, no remix thrown. Reflect in the light, Sabbath stone. 7 day rhythm, frame it in your heart. World flip the script, tore its day apart. Sunday creeping, but that ain't the spark. Messiah showed the way, his steps left a mark.
Shabbat Shalom, Israel. Man, I hope everybody is having a blessed Shabbat and able to enter into the Most High Yah's set-apart day of rest. Man, the title of the message is The Spirit of Clapback. Welcome to all in Shabbat Shalom, Israel. How to support the ministry? Hit the like button. Man, your likes help this video get ahead in the algorithm, and I'm grateful for it. Subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe, turn your notifications on and set to all notification. Share this video. Share this video with somebody that you know needs to hear it and can benefit from this message. Agenda. As we gather on this holy Shabbat, we reflect not only on resting from our physical labor, but also examining the condition of our hearts, especially the spirit of rebellion that rises up when we are corrected, instructed, chastised, or rebuked. Today, one of the clearest signs of this rebellious spirit is the urge to verbally clap back, to scoff, defend ourselves, or argue rather than humbly receive truth. What's even more alarming is that those who claim to have a form of godliness, deep in religion, full of theology, and quick with church jargon, are often the first to respond with resistance when confronted with the word of Yahweh. They clap back to justify sin, twist scripture to avoid obedience, and use religious arguments to escape accountability. This same rebellious response is seen in children clapping back at parents, wives clapping back at their husbands, and so-called believers clapping back at the Most High himself. All of this exposes a tongue that cannot be tamed and a heart that rejects Yahweh authority. Man, shout out to Pastor Mir of Straightway, Indiana Goshen, because he did a Lion's Den where he talked about this, and it was probably one of the best. You know, all of the Lion's Dens are good, but this one was, I just thought about, it made me think back to a period when I was a drill sergeant, when I was in drill sergeant school, and they taught us about transformation. And that transformation process was about taking regular civilians who might have lacked certain characteristics, and over the course of nine weeks, this transformation process, you know, they undergo this, and by week 9, man, they can call themselves a soldier. And man, week 1 and 2, as a drill sergeant, man, you have to deal with a lot of rebellion, i.e. clapback. And what you're doing is getting rid of all that so they can be productive and effective as soldiers. You know, the same goes in any discipline. If you want to be good at anything, in life that requires discipline. Okay, a son, a daughter, a wife, a husband, athlete, anything where there's leadership and you have oversight. This is what keeps a lot of people, from being, or going where they want to go. This is what will keep a woman single if she's got too much clapback, because the opposite of clapping back is being cooperative, is receiving truth. This is what makes children rebellious. You think about a child that knows they're dead wrong but does not want to take accountability and chooses to operate in a spirit of clapback. You think about how many children of Israel are very talented, and because of this spirit, man, they don't have a teachable spirit. They're not coachable. This will stop athletes from going far. It doesn't matter what the discipline is. As a man, if you're supposed to be submitted to your head, which is Hamashiach, and you're constantly clapping back at the way he walked, man, you're not going to be able to live righteous as a man. You're not going to be able to live righteous. So we're going to break this down today. And I'm going to try to break it down to the lowest common denominator, show you how to recognize the signs. But this is evident, man, when you have that, no matter what it is, it's evident that, we may need some work, especially in this area. You're reading your Bible and it's giving you a precept, giving you an instruction, giving you a law, a statute, a commandment. And your flesh, wicked as it is, wants to clap back.
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? That you are a slave like everyone else. You were born into bondage. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Why are we here today? Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 through 11. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. Work, Strong's number Hebrew word 4399, employment, public business, occupation, industrious, public service. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahweh. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heaven and the earth and the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the Sabbath day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Exodus 31:13. Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths you shall keep. For it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahweh Elohim, that doeth sanctify you. So when you look at this word, and we talking about the spirit of clapback, man, this is going to be associated with a scoffer, okay? The KJV is going to use the word scorner. Amplified and other translations will use the word scoffer. Proverbs chapter 9, verse 8 through 10. Do not correct a scoffer. And this is who foolishly ridicules and takes no responsibility for his error, or he will hate you. Okay, scoffer in the Amplified, Strong's number Hebrew word 3887, to speak ignorantly, to speak arrogantly, to speak properly, to make mouth at. Scorner, KJV, same Strong's number, same meaning. Okay, let's continue on. Correct a wise man who learns from his error, and he will love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will become even wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he will increase in his learning. The reverent fear of Yahweh, that is, worshiping him and regarding him as truly awesome, is the beginning and the preeminent part of wisdom. It is the starting point and its essence, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding and spiritual insight. Man, this thing can present itself at any time. And we as believers, ambassadors of the Most High Yah and his righteousness, man, we have to bring our flesh into the obedience of Hamashiach. Man, how many times have you been out and you see somebody at customer service where you're at Walmart and, man, they're up there trying to return something and the people behind the counter is politely telling them, you know, this receipt is 9 months old. We only have a 90-day return policy. It says it right here on the receipt. Rather than that person, you know, which they're receiving truth, being showed the facts, rather than that person saying, you know what, you're right. You know, it is a ego thing. It is a pride that you don't want to submit to the truth. And oftentimes we know it. Oftentimes we know it's the truth. So what does that individual do? Choose to make a scene, clapping back. That's why I'm gonna air this whole mug. You be like, wait a minute. Over something small. And that pride, man, will fester up in you. And next thing you know, man, that spirit of clapback then came back on you. Clapback is an expression that means too much. Clapback means that someone has responded to criticism or an insult with an excessively harsh, witty, or aggressive comeback to the point where it is seen as over the top. A clapback is a sharp response, and when it's too much, it goes beyond a clever retort and may be seen as malicious or unnecessary. Clapback, sharp, witty, often fierce response to an insult or criticism. Too much clapback. The comeback is seen as being overly harsh, aggressive, shutting down the other person with excessive force. You dead wrong, but you want to shut down the truth. And here's the thing, man, this spirit does not operate in truth. It operates in deception. You want to deceive people. You want to make a scene to make it seem like you right, but you know deep down you're dead wrong according to logic, according to truth, according to the facts. We got to understand that no matter what form or fashion this presents itself, man, clapback is rebellion. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 11, a rebellious man seeks only evil. Therefore, a cruel messenger will be sent against him. Ecclesiasticus chapter 10, verse 19, they that fear Yahweh are a sure seed, and they that love him an honorable plant. They that regard not the law are a dishonorable seed. They that transgress the commandments are a deceivable seed. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because some of the first people that you're going to experience this with is people that claim to have a relationship with the Most High. But I want you to understand, it says, man, this is a dishonorable seed. It's a deceivable seed. So when people clap back, it's trying to deceive. Like I said, man, they know they're dead wrong. And when you know you're doing something wrong and you double down, man, the word says to him that knows what he should do and does not, man, to him it is sin. 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 23, for rebellion is as serious as the sin of divination, fortune telling. So it's letting you know that this form of rebellion is just as serious as divination, fortune telling. And disobedience is as serious as false religion and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of Yahweh, he also has rejected you as king. Ecclesiasticus 2, verse 15, they that fear Yahweh will not disobey his word, and they that love him will keep his ways. When you think about the hierarchy, Yahweh, Hamashiach, man, woman, children, okay? So we'll talk about this clapback that you receive at every level, and we don't see Hamashiach give that clapback. He fulfilled the will of the Father. But when we start to break down that hierarchy and there's order and structure, and you got to be in an alignment with that structure, this is where everybody and their mama got that clapback. Clapback in children. Man, when I was about, I want to say 9 or 10, a very wise man told me, and this wise man was a second-degree black belt, had no problem putting children in their place. And I'm not saying, I don't want people to think that I was abused. No, this wise man was my grandfather. And if you couldn't bring yourself into alignment with being respectful and acknowledging truth, you know, man, there was an escalation of force. And I tell you, my grandfather was quick. And, you know, a wise man told me, i.e. my grandfather told me, you know, grandson, everything doesn't warrant a response. But for the things that do warrant a response, you want to make sure it's the right response. See, when people clap back, you can tell, you can have friends that will call you and worry you, and you can say, hey, friend, man, I'm tired of seeing you in this boat. But if you keep entertaining the type of women the Most High Yah told you not to entertain, man, you're not going to prosper. Rather than receiving that truth, they double down, clap back at you. This is when you get the, oh, you think you perfect. Oh, you so self-righteous, high and mighty. Same thing, sisters, y'all know. You tell your girlfriend the complete opposite of the scenario. Hey, sister, man, if you keep moving like that and you claim to have a relationship with the Most High and you keep making these poor decisions in men, man, it's going to lead to struggle. But that ain't what they want to hear. They want somebody to side with them. They want somebody to not correct them, not come in with the word of Yah, not to come with wisdom. So what do? They clap back. Man, children that go uncorrected, children that are allowed to clap back and not corrected by the parents, man, they grow up to be adults that clap back. Man, all praise to the Most High, because, man, I was raised by my grandparents and they weren't going for all that clap back. My grandma, raising 4 children, raising me and my brother, she wasn't going for that. And my grandma would almost challenge you to test her speed. That's how quick she was, especially when it comes to clapping back, being disrespectful. How many times, parents, have you told your child who says they love you, oh, I love you, when you giving them something, but you tell them to do something and the first thing out of their mouth is what they think they should be doing? See, the spirit that claps back in children don't want to be under authority. It wants to be neck and neck with you to where we friends. But there's an authority. There's a hierarchy. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 1 through 3. Children, obey your parents in the Yahweh, that is, to accept their guidance and discipline as his representatives. For this is right, for obedience teaches wisdom and self-discipline. Remember I told you, if you want to be good at any discipline, whether it be a son, a daughter, a father, a mother, a wife, a husband, brother, sister, a neighbor, love thy neighbor requires a discipline. Honor, esteem, value as precious your father and mother, and be respectful to them. This is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may be well with you and that you may have long life on earth. You think about why a lot of these young men and women are not living long and they getting up out of here. You got to think, man, it's all tied to this right here. You see these young boys, parents trying to do the best they can and they just unhinged, unleashed. Young boys and girls, this right here. You wonder why they getting taken out. And in the last days, pay attention to when you see people and their children doing this. Man, you pretty much placing your tombstone when you're doing this. And this is something that children, you have to teach them to repent for early on. Because oftentimes when you talk to them, they know right from wrong. They know right from wrong. As a drill sergeant, man, we used to get all that clap back out of you. And it taught me so much attention to detail. Because sometimes that clap back can be heavy breathing. Sometimes that clap back can be eye rolling. This thing come in many forms. It's not always verbal, but that breathing is something to give you back, to let you know, man, I ain't in agreement with what you said. But when you're under authority, you ain't got to agree. You got to comply. That's obedience. Clap back towards the words. James chapter 1, verse 22. But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own self. How many times have you come across religious people that claim to be walking in the ways, but everything in their defense is why they don't have to do the word? Well, my pastor said. Well, my first lady said. Well, according to the Bible study that we did, it says anything in contradiction to the word is clapping back. And that ain't going to get you to the kingdom. That ain't going to get you to the kingdom. Man, you'll end up being a Pharisee. Mark chapter 7, verse 9. He was also saying to them, you are experts at setting aside and nullifying the commandment of Yahweh in order to keep your man-made traditions and regulations. I tell you, man, anytime I speak about worldly holidays that's unbiblical and speak about the feast day, guess who you always get? You get these Christmas-loving Christians in the comments clapping back. Never, the book tells you, follow not the way of the heathen. You know, you can't, you ask them, hey, where, if you show me where in the book, make me believe what you read, because it ain't in there. Get all this clap back. Religious theological arguments that ain't rooted in biblical truth. Rooted in deception. Clap back towards Torah. Man, we can't, well, we can't nobody fulfill all them laws. Well, if you read, you know, all of them laws don't pertain to you. You got laws for women, laws for men, you know, laws for the Levites, laws for the priests. It's always some clapback that if you pry in, you're going to realize, man, it's a spirit of rebellion behind that. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 6 through 10. But as it is, Hamashiach has acquired a priestly ministry, which is more excellent than the old Levitical priestly ministry. For he is the mediator, the arbiter of a better covenant uniting Yahweh and man, which has been enacted and rests on better promises. For if the first covenant had been faultless, there would have been no occasion for a second one or an attempt to institute another one, the new covenant. However, Yahweh finds fault with them, the people, them. He ain't talking about the covenant. He's talking about he finds fault with them, showing its inadequacy when he says, behold, the days will come, says Yahweh, when I will make and ratify a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. It's the same people of the old one. It's the same people. And let's see what it keeps on saying. Not like the covenant that I made with their fathers on the day that I took them by their hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt. For, listen to this, for they, see, he found fault in them. It says, for they did not abide in my covenant. So the people weren't obedient to the covenant. And so I withdrew my favor and disregarded them, says Yahweh. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says Yahweh. So let's how many people out there that claim to be New Testament clap back towards the law? How many times have we seen that? Clapping back towards the law, rebelling against the law when it convicts us of sin. It says, okay, so this new covenant, he gonna do away with the law. Let's read what it says. I will write my laws upon their minds, even upon their innermost thoughts and understandings, and engrave them upon their hearts. You got people out there that claim to be believers, claim to have a relationship with the Most High, but man, their heart claps back towards the law that he says is pure. To engrave them upon their hearts, affecting their regeneration, and I will be their Elohim, and they shall be my people. Matthew chapter 17, verse 20. Do not think that I come to do away with or undo the law of Moses or the writing of the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but fulfill, to show you how to demonstrate. Why did he have to show you how to come and demonstrate it? Because everybody before Hamashiach, when it says he found fault in them, they didn't fulfill it. For I assure you and most solemnly say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, that not the smallest letter or stroke of the pen will pass from the law until all things which it foreshadows are accomplished. So whoever breaks one of the least important of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least important in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever practices and teaches them, he will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you, unless your righteousness, uprightness, moral excellence is more than that of the scribe and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Pretty bold statement. Pretty bold statement. The Hamashiach himself let you know, pump your brakes before you even come up with a rebuttal. I ain't come to do away with or undo the law. I came to show you how to walk this thing out. Romans chapter 3:31. Do we then nullify the law by faith? Well, we got everybody, well, I got faith. I'm a believer. So we nullify this. So anytime we hear something about the law, we clap back. No. Do we then nullify the law by this faith, making the law of no effect, overthrowing it? Certainly not. It says certainly not. On the contrary, we conform. Conform? What conforms? Man, a piece of clay that has to be molded. We got to be molded. A piece of clay conforms to the sculptor's hands as he moves it. The Most High Yah want us to conform so we are transformed and we walk in his image. Conform and establish and uphold the law, not violate it, since it convicts us all of sin, pointing, why do you need salvation? Pointing to the need for salvation. Romans chapter 7, verse 7. What then we shall say? That the law is sin? No, you trying to make me sin in that law. By no means. Yet, if it had not been for the law, I would have not known sin. For I would have not known what it is to covet if the law had said, you shall not covet. Telling you, man, this hatred in this world religion that they're trying to widespread of Christendom, man, it rejects the law. It's that spirit of clap back to war is strong. Romans chapter 7, verse 12. So then the law is holy. Oh, snap. So then the law is holy and the commandment is holy. How many folk out there tell you, well, you know, that Sabbath commandment, we ain't got to. What are they doing? Relaxing. Where do you find the commandments at? In the Torah, in the law. What's the penalty? Put to death. See, folk think because the Most High is not expedient in his judgment, the heart of man continues to sin. So they think, oh, because nobody's getting stoned, we ain't gonna get dealt with. We can do what we want. We got all this room to do what we want. Man, that's a spirit that operates in rebellion. But the reality is, everything you do is gonna be brought unto judgment, whether it be good or evil, every idle word. See, people don't realize when they clap back, man, they feel justified. But it's those words. It's those words from a child that the mama and daddy says, hey, go in there and clean your room. Go in there and do your homework. Go in there, come do these dishes. And you clap back. Oh, man, them the words. That's the stuff that we often forget that we need to repent for. Clapping back when we know we was dead wrong. Dead wrong. But this flesh, thinking it's got some wisdom, but operating in the capacity of sensual, earthly, devilish. We think we doing something. Romans chapter 8, verse 7. The mind of the flesh with its sinful pursuits is actively hostile to Yahweh. It does not submit itself to Yahweh's law since it cannot. That's why we have to bring this flesh into the obedience of Hamashiach. Man, this is, you know, every parent has to deal with this at some point. And this is, we need to be teaching early on. You got to understand, man, we got loaded up with false religion that had us operating in a capacity to where we think we're gonna inherit the kingdom, and we got a free pass to do all this stuff. We continuously clapping back because of grace, and that's not the reality of it. This is what we should be loading our children up with, teaching them, hey, love is an action word. Love is not a feeling. Love is an action word. And you say you love me. What does Yahweh say? For this is the love of Yahweh, to keep his commandments. And his commandments are not burdensome. Man, we see that burden when we tell our children to do something. We see that burden on people whose heart is not right when we're reading things out of the Torah telling us how to walk upright. We see that the instructions are grievous and burdensome. And because, man, we don't want to take time to see the salvation in obedience, what do? Man, we clap back. We clap back to our own demise. The clap back, even though the verbal shots you're sending may penetrate somebody else, man, it's your salvation that's on the line. You can walk away from an argument. Sometimes your children want to go back. Man, I tell my sons all the time, hey. When that spirit of clap back, hey, I'm dead and locked in. What part of what we told you to do sounded optional? See, they start to realize that old drill sergeant come out. I'll be like, hey, what part of what we told you to do sounded optional? What part of this yes or no question, yes sir, no ma'am, yes ma'am, no sir type question did you think we wanted your opinion on? It's all clapback. It's got to be dealt with. And here's the thing, man. People can fake the funk with religion and a form of godliness and be partaking in all this foolishness. But at the end of the day, man, if you don't bring that flesh into obedience, because what people do when it comes to this clapback, what they do is they hide behind theological arguments that ain't biblical. They hide behind stuff that man came up with in man's own wickedness. Psalms 19 verse 7, the law of Yahweh is perfect. You would be an absolute dummy to clap back at the Torah of the Most High. You'd be an absolute dummy to think that you've got salvation and you can just consistently point out what you see wrong. See, when people point out the Torah and why they think it's wrong, they should be pointing the finger right at themselves. Because that's where the wickedness is, and the Torah is going to reveal it. The law of Yahweh is perfect, flawless. It goes hand in hand what I told you. The Most High found fault in them. He said they, restoring and refreshing the soul. When you got that spirit up in you, man, you need some restoring and refreshing because your heart ain't right. You got to understand, man, we think about this at a basic level. Not wanting to receive criticism, not wanting to receive instruction, not wanting to receive rebuke, discipline. Man, you feel it. Sometimes it'll just, as a parent, I'll tell you, man, it'll almost break you down when, man, you do absolutely right by your children. The Most High Yah has done right by us. Done right by us. But man, when it comes to his word, we just got so much rebellion. He woke you up this morning. You know, you could have woke up and been gasping for air. You ever seen somebody need an oxygen tank and can't get enough oxygen out of the tank and they go to cranking that knob? But no. You woke up and could breathe fine. And then when you're reading that word, you're reading that the Torah, you're reading these precepts, you're reading these epistles, and you got that spirit of rejection in your heart. That spirit, a heart that has a spirit of rebellion and rejection, rejects restoring and refreshing. The statutes of Yahweh are reliable and trustworthy, making wise the simple. And you have people out there foolish enough to side with some of these wicked theologians, these wicked men, so-called men of God that are really agents of Hasatan, teaching people to continuously clap back at the word. Man, you talking about a merciful Yahweh? Man, he says his law is perfect. It's flawless. But it's this flawless law that's going to show you your flaws. And we got the nerve to clap back. Man, now you start to realize, man, why only a remnant, will be saved. Clap back in marriage, man. Man, you have post-government shutdown. You got to think, man, we had, shout out first and foremost, man, shout out to all of the daughters of Zion that fear the Most High Yah. And because of that fear, you don't conduct yourself in certain ways. Man, this government shutdown pretty much bursted the bubble of this spirit of rebellion and rejection that a lot of these women carry. And, when you think about that, man, good men have been saying the same thing over and over again. Saying the same thing that the book says. That's all we want. That's all we want. We don't want to be on the rooftop with a quarrelsome woman. We want a cooperative woman. You got to think. In the last days, man, this spirit of clapback in marriage is going to get worse. Statistically, it's getting worse when you look at the rates of divorce. This clapback right here, man, I've had, being married, man, I'm not afraid to say that, man, I was engaged to a young lady who had potential. But let's be real, everybody has potential, but we don't live up to it. And man, that relationship didn't go forth. I pulled the plug, took my offer elsewhere because of this clapback. You dead wrong. Man, I'm being patient, trying to guide you and help you see what I see so you don't fumble. And yet I'm supposed to hitch myself to you and be equally yoked. Take my offer elsewhere. And which I did. All praise to the Most High. All praise to the Most High. Clap back. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 33. However, each man among you, without exception, is to love his wife as his very own self. Men, let me break that down. Man, there's times your wife has your best interests at heart. She's not being malicious. She's not being petty. And she will tell you something because she sees it from her vantage point that something is about to go wrong. And she may not know everything of the fullness, but she's there to give you a warning sign. And you know what? Man, you will have some men that have that same spirit of clapback. Same spirit of clapback towards their wife. Just shut up and stay silent. And here's the thing. You might be doing something about to saw your whole finger off. And you know what? You know what, the woman of Yah, she don't have to tell you I told you so. Because you already know. You already know. You had a warning. And you choose not to hearken to it. Men, sometimes when your wife is telling you something, it's not always to control you. It's just to make sure that you don't endanger yourself. You don't hurt yourself or jack something up that could affect the family. You cut your finger off in your pride and your ego, and she saw, she said, hey, that looked kind of dangerous. Man, let me tell you something. My wife told me, she said, shouldn't you be wearing some eye protection? Tell me why I messed around, had something in my eye and had an eye infection for like 2-3 weeks. She didn't have to say I told you so. But I was like, no, I got this. I done cut X amount of board. I got this. First 5 seconds, all in my eye. Man, I'm on base getting my eye looked at, and they're rinsing it, gave me some ointment and cream. I'm with the gunk eye, because I didn't want to hearken to the warning. Man, let that sink in. With behavior worthy of respect and esteem, always seeking the best for her with an attitude of loving kindness. And the wife must see to it that she respects and delights in her husband, that she notices him and prefers him and treats him with loving concern, treasuring him, honoring him, and holding him dear. Man, I want you to think, man, this right here is why you have to think, man, a lot of sisters they think they have prepared themselves for marriage in their mind, but when we put it against the word, this is the reason why men won't deal with you. And it's not about beauty, it's about discipline. Do you have the discipline to know how to talk to somebody? You got to think, man, this is with all of these layoffs. Man, I did videos back in the past in the month of April and the following month, April, May, how many women got laid off? I'm talking about single independent women. The ones that had a covering, they had a soft landing. But the ones that didn't have one, oh man, thought they had the financial option to be disrespectful and constantly clap back. You can't tell me nothing. I'm here today to tell you that, man, if you are a wife and you constantly got this clap back in you, man, that's some spiritual wickedness. That's some spiritual retardation going on you, deep down in you, and you got to deal with it. You got to repent for it. You should want your heart restored. How can you have that much clapback towards somebody that's supposed to take a bullet for you? Somebody when you look at an old man and an old woman been married 30, 40, 50 years, you see wear and tear on the man's body because he's been providing, protecting, working to make sure the family is provided for. You will see the old woman get a little pep in her step. Man, he's I'm telling you, his joints can't take it no more. How can you have the nerve to clap back? It's the same thing when you think about Yahweh, Yahshua, man, woman, children. Children got the nerve to clap back at you. Men got the nerve to clap back at a Mashiach. Genesis chapter 3:16, to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth. You got to understand, man, when you got all that clap back in you, man, I guarantee your birth is going to be painful. Your childbirth is going to be painful. It's going to be excruciating. But, man, I always hear testimonies of, man, from the righteous sisters, and they're saying, man, I gave birth, and it was just so quick. It was a little bit of pain, but it wasn't as painful as it could have been. In pain, you will give birth to children. Yet your desire and longing will be for your husband. And he will rule. Wait a minute. So why, man, I'll tell my daughter, and I got 2 of them. Man, I'll tell my daughter, man, you have no business getting married if you don't want to be righteously ruled over. If anything in you got any kind of problems with that, you're going to jack it up. You're going to jack it up out the gate. And the first way you're going to jack it up is with your mouth. It's with your mouth. You want to win every argument. You want to get the last word because you got corrected, because you got some constructive criticism. Let me tell you something, man. If your husband gives you some constructive criticism, it's because he loves you. It's because he loves you. The Most High gives you criticism because he loves you. But nope, you don't want to receive that criticism. So what do? Oh, you add some insult. Add a little insult. Get real rebellious. Try to get a point on the scoreboard. You see, the price you pay for feeling like you got an extra point on the board that caused you to win, that's really when you didn't lost it. That's really when you didn't lost it. Reaping and sowing. Sow them seeds of clap back. Wait till they come to harvest. Wait till they come to harvest. Hebrews chapter 13, verse 17. Obey your spiritual leaders and submit to them, recognizing their authority over you. For they are keeping watch over your souls and continually guarding your spiritual warfare as those who will give an account of their stewardship of you. Let them do this with joy and not with grief and groan. Where does the grief and groan come in? The grief and groan comes in when you dealing with rebellion as a covering, as a leader, as a husband. For this would be of no benefit to you. Man, I'm when your husband starts saying, I just ain't gonna say nothing. I just ain't gonna say nothing. Man, he is slowly removing his covering over you and just saying, hey, you know what? Since you got all that clap back, go ahead then and see what happened to you. Because he as a man, he knows you're gonna go out there and get yourself into a situation and he gonna let it happen because you can't control this. That's not a good thing. You feeling like you didn't gain some control, like you able to do what you want and live your best life, but you out there with no umbrella. You in the rain with no umbrella. Look statistically, who carries umbrellas more? Women by a landslide. Why? They want a covering. What's an umbrella do? It covers, it protects. Rain, sun. I want you to understand, who's getting beat up by that rain? Who's getting beat up by that sun? It's your covering. It's your husband. It's that umbrella. Man. You know what's crazy? Man, I saw a video of a lady talking about how she ran her husband off because he told her we don't need to be eating out every day. She said, man, we make good money. You know, he makes good money. He works 70 hours a week. And I should be able to eat out every day. And she ran him off. Man, that man ain't looking back. He ain't looking back at all. All that clap back. Try to give you some. You got to understand, man, a prudent wife is from Yahweh. A wife that considers the future, that's from Yahweh. This we're seeing it, man. You guys are seeing some of this stuff on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. It's downright embarrassing. Let me tell you something, man. Man, we're at a point in the last days where Western society is promoting, gay marriage over husbands. You know, they're promoting faggots over fathers. And really, man, it's all a form of clapback. That's what it is. It's just society's way. These people that are pulling these strings past, it's just their way of clapping back at the Most High. And then it presents itself in marriage. Man, when somebody, you got to think, man, I've led as somebody that's been at a lot of levels of leadership. Man, I've led people that, man, it's nothing but pain to lead them. It's painful. Everything you tell them to do with their best interest in mind, they got to clap back. They got to clap back. And you're constantly telling them, hey, if you keep doing this, I'm going to give you some corrective training, but if you keep doing this, you up and out of here. What do you end up doing? Man, you end up giving them their papers. And then in that moment, they still don't acknowledge they was in the wrong. Man, anytime you clapping back at your doggone husband, man, you are wrong. No matter how justified you feel, you wrong. Man, that's your covering. We don't get to clap back at a Mashiach. We don't get to clap back at the Most High. But you know what? A lot of this in marriage, it goes unchecked. Proverbs chapter 21, verse 9. It is better to live in a corner of a housetop than in a house shared with a quarrelsome wife. You ain't on that rooftop because she's cooperative. You ain't on that corner of that housetop because she's got a gentle, meek, and quiet spirit. Let's face it. Proverbs chapter 25, verse 24. It is better to live in a corner of a housetop than in a house shared with a quarrelsome wife. Quarrelsome. Man, and a wife, I tell you, man, you have to reject the ways of the world, because if you operating in the spirit that this world has conditioned you and programmed you to fail in, you're going to be in there trying to go toe-to-toe with your husband. And anytime you go toe-to-toe with your covering, anytime a man goes toe-to-toe with a Mashiach, try to go toe-to-toe with the Most High Yah, you're gonna sit your butt down somewhere. Most High Yah gonna show you. And it may take some time. He's not expedient on it, but it's gonna take some time. But when it happened, oh, you're gonna realize. Ecclesiasticus chapter 26, verse 7. An evil wife is a yoke shaken to and from. He that hath hold of her is as though he is held a dandelion. No, a scorpion. Man, I live in scorpion territory. It ain't nothing. I can look out right here in my living room and a scorpion could be crawling across the floor. I'm in scorpion territory. Getting stung by a scorpion don't feel good. And listen to this. Listen to this analogy. It's weighty. But once again, man, this is the stuff, like I said, in Christendom, they ain't gonna never talk about this. They ain't gonna never talk about this because it don't sell. Taming the tongue, man. This is really what it comes down to. James chapter 3, verse 5 through 10. In the same sense, the tongue is a small part of the body, and yet it boasts of great things. Think about in comparison to every other thing you got on your body. Your heart, your lungs, your different organs. Think about your tongue. Small as it is, dangerous. Razor blades. See by comparison how great a forest is set on fire by a small spark. That's how damaging it can be. And the tongue is, in a sense, a fire. The very world of injustice and unrighteousness, the tongue is set among our members as that which contaminates the entire body and sets on fire the course of our life, the cycle of man's existence, and itself set on fire by hell. For every species of beast and birds, of reptiles and sea creatures is tamed and has been tamed by the human race. But no one can tame the human tongue. It is a restless evil, undisciplined, unstable, full of deadly poison. Man, when you clapping back, man, that ain't nothing but poison. With it we bless Yahweh, and with it we curse men, who have been made in the likeness of Yahweh. Out of the same mouth come both blessing and cursing. These things, my brothers, should not be this way, for we have a moral obligation to speak in a manner that reflects our fear of Yahweh and profound respect for his precepts. Listen to that. He went all the way down to his precepts, a moral respect, profound respect for his precepts. You got some people in Israel will say, well, show me the law on that. No, it's a profound respect for his precepts. Because it's a precept. They try to, they clap back at it. It ain't the Torah. Stop. How is that showing a profound respect for his precepts? Man, recognizing somebody that's got that clapback spirit. Recognizing a scoffer or scorner. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 12. A scoffer, unlike a wise man, complete opposite, 180 difference, resents one who rebukes him and tries to teach him. Man, have you ever seen young teenage boys in athletics and sports with basketball, football, soccer, what it is? Man, you always have somebody that is constantly, coaches trying to tell them how to be better, how to be great. And they constantly just want to say something back. My day, you would get hit upside your head. That's the kind of coaches we had. Nor will he go to the wise for counsel and instruction. Proverbs chapter 31, verse 1, a wise son heeds and accepts. See, this is telling you how to be a wise son. People oftentimes don't think about this as a form of discipline, being a son, being a daughter. Just because you smile in your parents' face as a son or a daughter don't make you a good son or daughter. A wise son heeds and accepts and is the result of his father's discipline and instruction. But a scoffer does not listen to reprimand and does not learn from his error. Man, you ever, as a parent, one of the craziest things that you'll ever see is when you're disciplining your child and they get this look up on their face to where they know they're wrong. They have already acknowledged that they're wrong, but they just don't want to receive discipline. Man, that's it's something deep rooted in them, deep seated. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 6. A scoffer seeks wisdom and finds none. You're looking for somebody to agree with you. For his ears are closed to wisdom, but knowledge is easy for one who understands because he is willing to learn. Man, didn't Shep say not too long ago? A fool knows everything, but a wise man is willing to learn. Man, I tell you, man, that saying my granddaddy had, everything doesn't warrant a response. And for the things that do, you better make sure it's the right response. Man, it took a little time for that to marinate, a couple years. And I tell you, man, that still marinates till this day. You think about husbands, deal with your wife according to understanding. Man, you having a conversation with your wife. And man, bro, she loves you enough to tell you about yourself. And here's the thing. She's telling you about yourself in the most respectful, righteous manner. And rather than taking a moment to be spiritually yoked, spiritually tied in, what does your flesh do? Your flesh want to rear up and buck up. Rather than to acknowledge the fact, man, I'm slipping. As a man, I'm slipping. As a husband, I'm slipping. Might have been for a day, might have been for a week, might have been for a month, might have been for an hour. I'm slipping. She's sitting up here telling you, man, you can be better. You're so much more. That ain't what you want to hear. You don't want that criticism because it pushes you towards being better. Same thing, sisters. Man, your husband is not giving you this constructive criticism because he hates you. It's easier not to say something when you hate somebody. Just let him fail. But he's saying this because he loves you. But that ain't what you want to hear. That flesh starts saying, nah, if you buck. Nah, if you buck. Ready to go. Clap back. But knowledge is easy for one who understands because he is willing to learn. Man, I tell you, if you approach everything, even in your wrongdoings, willing to learn. If you approach everything in life, that's a quick way to humble yourself and to pretty much compress your ego to where it doesn't inflate. Approach everything. I don't give a dang if you're skilled in this. There's multiple ways to do things. And man, there's great wisdom when you approach things willing to learn. Man, sometimes people, I want you to think, man, low functioning, low vibrational people, sometimes they know they're dead wrong, but they clap back because they don't have the intellect to backtrack and say, where did I go wrong? But if they would approach this from the aspect of, man, let me humble myself. Man, let me make sure that my response is the right response. Rather than just going unhinged, man, that would be counted as wise. Proverbs chapter 21, verse 24. Scoffer is the name of the arrogant, haughty man who acts arrogant with pride. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 3. Knowing this first of all, that scoffers will come in the last day. Man, I told you this is going to get worse. I don't know what it is when people read the book that they read that everything is going to be better in the last day. The book don't say that. It tells you, hey, you're going to endure some stuff on these last days, and scoffers is one. I tell you, man, when you got somebody that's a scoffer, as an ambassador of the Most High Yah, don't feel the need to go toe-to-toe with them. Maintain your ruach, maintain your peace. Because a scoffer is really dead wrong, but they want you to partake in their foolishness so you can say something wrong. You can say something out of pocket. You old dirty, all kind of crazy. And next thing you know, they pointing the finger right back at you. See, you did something wrong too. Maintain your peace. Don't wrestle with them. Because when somebody is clapping back, they're just revealing what's in their heart, what they don't want to deal with. You don't have to get entangled with it. Knowing this, first of all, that scoffers will come in the last days with scoffing, following their own sinful desires, their own lawless desires. That's why they scoff. That's why they clap back. They don't want to do right. They want to rebel in every form. Rebel against the parents, rebel against the husband, rebel against Messiah, rebel against the Most High. Selfishness. And as we close out this Sabbath teaching, let us recognize that the spirit of rebellion revealed through clapping back is not a small issue. It's a deep-rooted refusal to submit to Yahweh's order and instruction. Whether it manifests in believers resisting scripture, children talking back to parents, or wives undermining their husbands, it's all of the same fruit of pride and a tongue left ungoverned by the Ruach HaKodesh. Religion may teach people how to sound holy, but only obedience reveals who truly belongs to Yahweh. The Sabbath calls us to rest, but it also calls us to surrender, to lay down rebellion, silence the scoffer within us, and receive correction with humility. Only then can we walk in true righteousness and reflect the spirit of set-apart people who honor the word of Yahweh, not with arguments, but with obedience. Doesn't the word say obedience is better than sacrifice? Man, I hope I've said something today in today's Shabbat message that stimulates thought. And just remember that everything doesn't warrant a response. Sometimes it's better to remain silent so you're not putting out idle words that will be held against you. And then when you do respond, just make sure that the response that you give is in line with righteousness, not with your flesh. Your flesh is going to have you cutting a plum fool. You can tell I was raised by my old folk. They say plum fool. Make sure your response is in alignment with the Ruach. Make sure you ain't in violation, because it will be counted as rebellion. You might not think it's towards the Most High. You might not think you're doing anything wrong because who you clapping back at. But hey, remember, we are ambassadors. You don't turn that switch on and off. That's not a, see, some people think that's a Sunday only thing. They, in there, we love you. And then you be like, man, I didn't see that when I saw you out in public. No, you an ambassador 24/7. 24/7. We need to remember this. Man, glory to the King. The King is coming. Turn from your sins. Shabbat Shalom, Israel. Close to the Yah Ministries, kicking that thing gun barrel straight. Until next time, man, stay set apart, stay disciplined, and stay in the word of Yah.